Welcome to the family. If you enjoy powerful stories and wild adventures, subscribe now, hit like and share with someone who will love it too. The diplomatic chamber aboard the Harmony station hummed with nervous energy as Ambassador Lisa Rodriguez adjusted her formal attire one final time. Across from her, the Villani delegation had arranged themselves in their traditional formation, perfect circle that spoke of unity and collective decision-making. At the center sat their lead negotiator, a graceful being named Kira, whose translucent blue skin shimmered under the station's artificial lighting. Ambassador Rodriguez, Kira's voice carried the melodic quality typical of her species, each word carefully chosen and precisely enunciated. We are honored by humanity's interest in joining the Galactic Cooperative Council. Lisa nodded respectfully, though she couldn't help but notice how Kira's large dark eyes kept darting toward the holographic display behind her, a three-dimensional representation of Earth's solar system that rotated slowly in the air. The display had been Lisa's idea, a visual aid to help explain humanity's origins and current territorial claims. The honor is ours, Negotiator Kira. We've prepared extensive documentation about our species, our technology, and our peaceful intentions. Lisa gestured toward the floating display. As you can see, humanity currently occupies 8 planets within our home system, with terraforming operations on... Excuse me, Kira interrupted, her voice carrying an odd tremor. The other Villani in the circle shifted uncomfortably, their skin patterns flickering between concern and confusion. Ambassador, why are you looking there? Is it too big? Lisa blinked, following Kira's gaze back to the solar system display. I'm sorry, I don't understand. Too big? Are you referring to Jupiter? Yes, it's our largest gas giant, but it's uninhabited. We primarily use it for fuel harvesting and... No. Kira stood abruptly, her movements betraying an agitation that seemed out of character for the normally composed species. The entire system, your territorial claim, 8 planets, multiple moons, asteroid mining operations? Her voice rose slightly. How many of your kind exist? The question hung in the air like a challenge. Lisa felt the weight of it, the implications suddenly becoming clear. She'd studied Villani culture extensively, knew that most species in the cooperative maintained populations in the millions, rarely exceeding 1 billion individuals across their entire civilization. Currently, humanity numbers approximately 15 billion across all our colonies, Lisa replied carefully, watching as the color drained from Kira's already pale features, though that includes our android citizens, who we consider full members of our society. The Villani delegation erupted in a symphony of concerned chirps and whistles, their skin patterns shifting rapidly through what Lisa recognized as expressions of alarm. Kira raised a delicate hand for silence, her eyes never leaving the human ambassador. 15 billion, Kira repeated slowly, as if the number itself were dangerous. And you require 8 worlds to sustain this population. Well, not require exactly, Lisa clarified. Earth alone could theoretically support our population, though not comfortably. The other colonies serve various purposes: research, manufacturing, resource extraction, cultural preservation. We believe in giving our people choices about how and where they live. The largest of the Villani, whom Lisa remembered was called Elder Tam, leaned forward with obvious concern. Ambassador Rodriguez, we must ask directly, what are humanity's expansion plans? The cooperative has maintained peaceful coexistence for over 3,000 standard years, precisely because we respect territorial boundaries. Lisa felt the conversation slipping into dangerous territory. The truth was that humanity was already surveying systems beyond their current borders, driven by the same curiosity and wanderlust that had taken them from their homeworld to the stars. But she also sensed that this revelation might end negotiations before they truly began. We seek only friendship and trade, she said diplomatically. Humanity has always believed that the galaxy is vast enough for all species to thrive. But even as she spoke the words, Lisa could see in Kira's expression that the Villani were calculating something entirely different. Not the potential for cooperation, but the implications of a species that could populate 8 worlds and still look toward the stars with hungry eyes. The emergency session of the Vellani High Council convened within hours of the first diplomatic meeting. Kira found herself standing before the assembled elders, their bioluminescent chambers creating a constellation of worried blue light in the chamber's depths. The weight of her report pressed heavily on her shoulders as she prepared to deliver news that could reshape their understanding of galactic politics. "Honored elders," Kira began, her voice steady despite her inner turmoil. "The human delegation presents challenges we did not anticipate." Elder Tam's ancient voice resonated through the chamber's acoustic amplifiers. "Explain the magnitude of their territorial claims, negotiator Kira." Kira activated the holographic display, showing the human solar system in all its occupied glory. Gasps echoed through the chamber as the elders processed what they were seeing. Mining operations on dozens of asteroids, terraforming projects on multiple worlds, massive orbital habitats around gas giants. They control not one world, but 8. Their population exceeds 15 billion individuals. They have transformed their entire solar system into a living, breathing extension of their civilization. Kira paused, letting the implications sink in. And when I asked about their expansion plans, the human ambassador spoke of the galaxy being vast enough for all species to thrive. Elder Yen, the Council's military advisor, stood slowly. "Are you suggesting they view the entire galaxy as potential territory?" "I'm suggesting that humanity operates on a scale we've never encountered," Kira replied. "Every other species in the cooperative maintains population stability. We understand resource limitations, territorial boundaries, the delicate balance required for galactic peace. But human," she gestured at the display, "they see limitations as challenges to overcome." The chamber fell silent except for the gentle hum of life support systems. Finally, Elder Tam spoke again. "What is their technological capability?" Kira pulled up another display, this one showing data from humanity's application materials. "They've achieved faster-than-light travel independently, without cooperative assistance. Their industrial capacity is unprecedented. They're not requesting membership for protection or resources. They genuinely seem to believe they can contribute as equals, or superiors," Elder Yen muttered. Meanwhile, aboard Harmony Station, Ambassador Lisa Rodriguez was having her own emergency meeting with her human diplomatic team. The conference room's walls displayed feeds from Earth, Mars, Europa, and the EU other colonies, a constant reminder of humanity's growing presence in their home system. "They're afraid of us," stated Dr. James Park, the team's xenobiologist. The Vellani delegates' reaction wasn't confusion, it was fear. Lisa nodded grimly. "The question is, afraid of what, exactly? Our size, our expansion, or something else? Entirely? Maybe it's our approach to resources," suggested Captain Maria Santos, the military liaison. "Most species we've encountered seem content with their homeworld and maybe 1 or 2 colonies. We've terraformed 6 worlds in less than 2 centuries. Because we can," Lisa replied. "Because we saw dead worlds and made them live again. Because we found a universe full of potential and decided to embrace it rather than fear it." Dr. Park pulled up comparative data on cooperative species. "Look at this. The Vellani have a population of 800 million spread across 3 worlds, and they've maintained that level for over a millennium. The Corridon maintain 4 billion across 2 systems, stable for 8 centuries. We're talking about civilizations that reached a point of comfort and stopped pushing boundaries. And we're the species that looked at 8 worlds and started planning for the 9th, Captain Santos observed. Lisa studied the data, pieces of a larger puzzle beginning to fall into place. They don't understand growth for growth's sake. To them, our expansion isn't exploration, it's conquest. Our population isn't thriving, it's out of control. "So what do we do?" Dr. Park asked. Lisa looked out at the stars through the station's viewport. Somewhere out there, human survey ships were already mapping potential colony sites. Human scientists were developing new terraforming techniques. Human dreamers were imagining cities among the clouds of distant gas giants. "We show them who we really are," she said finally. "Not conquerors, but gardeners. We don't take worlds, we make them. But even as she spoke the words, Lisa wondered if the distinction would matter to species who had learned to fear anything that grew too quickly, expanded too far, or dreamed too big. The galaxy, it seemed, had its own definition of what was too much, and humanity had already exceeded it. 3 days after the initial meeting, Kira found herself aboard a human transport vessel, traveling toward what the humans called their New Eden project. Despite her reservations, the Vellani High Council had agreed that a first-hand assessment of human capabilities was necessary before making any final decisions about their cooperative membership. The transport ship itself was a marvel of engineering that made Kira uncomfortable. Where Vellani vessels prioritized harmony with space, sleek, curved designs that moved like living things through the void, this human craft was all sharp angles and aggressive efficiency. It didn't glide through space so much as conquer it. "We'll be arriving at Kepler 442b in approximately 30 minutes, announced the ship's captain, a weathered woman named Ruth Chen. "I think you'll find our work there illuminating." Kira studied the preliminary data on her personal display. Kepler 442b had been a barren rock when humans first surveyed it 8 years ago. No atmosphere, no water, no life. According to human records, it now housed a population of 50,000 and was fully self-sustaining. "How is such rapid transformation possible?" Kira asked. Dr. Park, who had joined them for the demonstration, smiled with what Kira was learning to recognize as distinctly human pride. "We don't fight nature. We partner with it. Would you like to see?" The viewport cleared as they dropped out of hyperspace, and Kira gasped despite herself. The world that appeared before them was impossible. Clouds swirled in organized patterns around a blue-green sphere that pulsed with life. City lights glittered across one continent, while vast forests stretched across another. 8 years, Dr. Park said quietly. "From dead rock to living world in 8 years. "The atmosphere," Kira whispered. "Engineered algae and atmospheric processes," Captain Chen explained. "We introduced water through comet redirection, then seeded the oceans with modified microorganisms that could process the raw materials into breathable air. The first colonists arrived in environmental suits. Their children breathed native air. The transport descended through the atmosphere, and Kira watched forests give way to farmland. Farmland to suburbs, suburbs to a gleaming city that looked like it had grown naturally from the landscape itself. But she knew better, knew that every tree, every building, every flowing river had been planned and placed by human hands. "This is what concerns my people," Kira said finally, "this godlike reshaping of worlds." Dr. Park turned to her with genuine surprise. "Godlike? We're just gardening." "Gardening?" Kira's translator struggled with the concept. "Working with natural processes to create something beautiful and functional," Dr. Park explained. "Look," he pointed to the city below. "Those aren't concrete towers imposing themselves on the landscape. They're integrated systems. The buildings process waste, generate power, even participate in weather control. The forests aren't wild. They're managed ecosystems that provide resources while maintaining biodiversity." The transport settled onto a landing pad that seemed to grow from the earth itself. As they disembarked, Kira was struck by the sound. Not the sterile silence of most colony worlds, but a symphony of life. Birds sang, wind rustled through leaves. Somewhere in the distance, children were laughing. "Population 50,000, Captain Chen said, guiding them toward the city center. "But watch this." She led them to an observation deck overlooking a vast valley. In the distance, Kira could see construction, but not the harsh industrial construction she expected. Instead, she watched as human workers directed machines that seemed to plant buildings like seeds, structures that unfurled and grew into predetermined shapes. "New district," Dr. Park explained. "Population growth requires expansion, but we don't bulldoze, we cultivate." "How long?" Kira asked. 6 months from breaking ground to first residence, Captain Chen replied. "The buildings literally grow themselves once we provide the foundation matrix." Kira watched a group of human children playing in a park that hadn't existed an hour earlier. Grass already green, trees already providing shade, a stream already running clear and clean. This is why we need 8 worlds, Dr. Park said softly. Not because we're conquerors, but because we're farmers. We plant life where there was none before. We take dead worlds and teach them to sing. But what happens when you run out of dead worlds? Kira asked. When every system is full of your gardens? The humans exchanged glances, and Kira saw something in their expressions that made her skin patterns shift with alarm. Not greed or aggression, but a limitless hunger for possibility. Then we find new systems, Dr. Park said simply. The galaxy is vast, and there are so many empty places waiting to be filled with life. Kira understood then why her people were afraid. It wasn't humanity's technology or their population that threatened the established order. It was their fundamental inability to accept limits. They looked at impossibility and saw opportunity. They looked at dead worlds and saw potential homes. They looked at the vast emptiness of space and saw a canvas waiting for their art. And they genuinely couldn't understand why anyone would think that was dangerous. The emergency session of the Galactic Cooperative Council convened in the ancient chambers of the Central Nexus, a massive space station that had served as the galaxy's diplomatic heart for millennia. Representatives from 47 species gathered in the great amphitheater, their varied forms creating a tapestry of evolution that spoke to the diversity and stability of their alliance. At the center of it all, Ambassador Lisa Rodriguez stood alone, facing questions that would determine humanity's future among the stars. The evidence is troubling, declared Magistrate Vaughn of the Crystalline Assembly, his silicon-based form refracting the chamber's light into prismatic patterns. A species that has consumed 8 worlds in less than 3 centuries, with expansion plans that appear limitless. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the assembly. Lisa could see the fear in their alien expressions, the same concern she'd witnessed in Kira's eyes, now magnified 47-fold. Representative Theta 9 of the Machine Collective's mechanical voice cut through the discussion. Query: what assurance can humanity provide that their expansion will respect existing territorial boundaries? Lisa stepped forward, her voice carrying clearly through the chamber's acoustics. Honored representatives, I believe there's been a fundamental misunderstanding about humanity's nature and intentions. Misunderstanding. The question came from Eldertam, who had traveled from Villani space to attend the session personally. We have seen the documentation. 8 worlds, 15 billion individuals, terraforming operations that reshape entire ecosystems. Yes, Lisa replied simply. And every single one of those worlds was dead when we found it. The chamber fell, silent. Lisa activated her holographic display, showing the progression of human expansion through their home system. Mars, a frozen desert until we gave it an atmosphere. Europa, a lifeless ice shell until we found the ocean beneath and filled it with Earth's creatures. Titan, a methane wasteland until we learned to breathe life into its hydrocarbon lakes. The images shifted, showing before and after comparisons that were stark in their transformation. We don't take worlds, honored representatives, we create them. Kira stood in the Villani section, her skin patterns displaying careful consideration. But the scale, Ambassador Rodriguez. The speed of your expansion suggests an appetite that will eventually encounter occupied worlds. Will it? Lisa challenged gently. She expanded the display to show a 3-dimensional map of local space. There are over 400 billion stars in this galaxy. Conservative estimates suggest at least 100 billion worlds, and fewer than 50,000 are inhabited by intelligent life. The numbers hung in the chamber's air like a revelation. Several representatives shifted uncomfortably as the implications sank in. For every world you have claimed, Lisa continued, there are literally millions of empty worlds waiting, dead, worlds that could bloom with life if someone cared enough to plant the seeds. High Counselor Zeph of the Avian Collective spread his magnificent wings in a gesture of confusion. But why? Why expend such energy on dead rock when comfortable, sustainable populations can be maintained on established worlds? Lisa smiled, and in that expression was something that had driven humanity from caves to stars. Because they're not just dead. Rock to us. They're potential homes for children not yet born. They're blank canvases waiting for new forms of life. They're symphonies of possibility that we can't bear to leave unplayed. She gestured to the display again, this time showing not human colonies, but the wildlife preserves, the restored ecosystems, the entirely new forms of life that human scientists had nurtured into existence. On Mars, we didn't just create a human colony, we established ecosystem reserves for Earth species that had gone extinct. On Europa, we've evolved new forms of aquatic life, adapted to the unique conditions beneath the ice. On Titan, we've created entirely novel biochemistries that exist nowhere else in the galaxy. Dr. Park's voice came from the human delegation section. If I may, honored representatives, humanity's expansion isn't about conquest, it's about conservation and creation. We're not taking territory from anyone. We're adding to the total amount of life in the galaxy. Magistrate Vaughn's crystalline form pulsed thoughtfully. And when you encounter worlds that are already inhabited? We've encountered 17 pre-spaceflight civilizations in our expansion, Lisa replied without hesitation. Every single one remains undisturbed, with protective barriers established around their systems. We've added 7 species to our refugee assistance programs for those fleeing environmental disasters, and we've shared our terraforming technology freely with any species that requested it. The admission caused another stir in the chamber. Representative Kell of the Trading Confederation leaned forward. You've shared terraforming technology, your most valuable resource? Life isn't a resource to be hoarded, Lisa said firmly. It's a gift to be shared. If other species want to create new worlds, to give their children more choices, more opportunities, we'll help them do it. Elder Tam stood slowly. And if we asked you to limit your expansion, to accept territorial boundaries? Lisa was quiet. For a long moment, choosing her words carefully. We would respect any boundaries established by inhabited worlds, but asking us to stop expanding into empty space, that would be like asking us to stop breathing. Growth, exploration, the drive. To plant life where none existed before. These aren't policy decisions for humanity. They're core to who we are. And that, Kira said softly, is exactly what concerns us. The chamber fell silent again, and Lisa realized that she'd reached the heart of the matter. Humanity's greatest strength, their limitless drive to grow and create, was also the source of every other species' deepest fear. In a galaxy that had found stability through limitation, humans represented change on a scale that threatened everything. But as Lisa looked around the chamber, she also saw something else in the alien faces: curiosity. For all their fear, they were also fascinated by a species that looked at impossible odds and saw opportunity. The question was whether fascination would prove stronger than fear. The council recess stretched into its 3rd day, with representatives huddled in species-specific groups throughout the central nexus. The station's corridors buzzed with urgent conversations in dozens of languages, while back-channel communications flowed between homeworlds at the speed of quantum entanglement. Lisa Rodriguez found herself in an unexpected position, confined to human quarters while the galaxy debated her species' fate, yet receiving a steady stream of visitors curious about humanity's true nature. The first to arrive was Kira, who entered the human delegation's diplomatic suite with the hesitant grace of someone stepping into unknown territory. "I hope I'm not intruding," Kira said, her skin patterns displaying polite uncertainty. "Not at all," Lisa replied, gesturing to the comfortable seating area. "Though I suspect this isn't a social call." Kira settled herself carefully, studying the human decorations scattered throughout the room, images of Earth forests, Martian canyons, Europa's crystalline ice formations. "I'm trying to understand something. Your species has the capability to take any world you choose. Your technology surpasses most cooperative members. Your population could overwhelm any resistance, yet you limit yourselves to dead worlds. Why? Does that surprise you?" "Because it defies every predictive model we have for aggressive species," Kira admitted. "Expansion without conquest, growth without domination, it shouldn't be possible." Lisa poured tea from a service that had been crafted on Earth, but designed using artistic principles learned from 12 different alien cultures. "What if I told you that your models are based on a fundamental misunderstanding of what drives human expansion?" Before Kira could answer, the door chimed again. Dr. Park entered, followed by an unexpected guest, Representative Theta 9 of the T Machine Collective, its chrome and steel frame gleaming under the room's lighting. Apologies for the intrusion. Theta 9's synthesized voice carried undertones of genuine curiosity. Query: is it permissible to join this discussion? The machine. Collective finds human motivations difficult to process. Of course, Lisa said, though I think you'll find we're not that complicated. Theta 9's optical sensors focused on the wall displays. Contradiction. Human behavior patterns suggest extreme complexity. Simultaneous drives. For expansion and preservation. Creation and conservation. Individual achievement and collective benefit. How you see contradiction where we see balance, Dr. Park interjected, settling into his chair. Humans expand because we want to preserve. We create new worlds because we love life too much to let it remain confined to one small corner of the galaxy. Kira's skin patterns shifted to display deep concentration. Explain. Lisa stood and walked to the central display, calling up an image of Earth. 6 billion years ago, our homeworld was a sterile ball of rock and toxic atmosphere. Life began as simple chemical reactions in primordial oceans, and over billions of years, it transformed our entire planet into something beautiful and complex. The image shifted, showing Earth's evolution through geological time, the first appearance of life, the development of photosynthesis, the explosion of multicellular organisms, the eventual emergence of intelligence. But life on Earth has also faced extinction events, Dr. Park added. Asteroid impacts, volcanic eruptions, climate changes that wiped out entire ecosystems. We learned early that life is precious precisely because it's fragile. Theta 9's processors hummed as it analyzed the data. Conclusion: human expansion represents ecosystem redundancy protocols. In a way, yes, Lisa agreed, but it's more than that. We discovered that we could take dead worlds and teach them to live again. We could create new forms of life, new possibilities that had never existed before. She changed the display to show time-lapse footage of Martian terraforming, barren red landscape slowly transforming into green valleys and blue rivers. When we planted the first engineered lichens on Mars, Lisa continued, they were just simple organisms designed to process atmospheric chemicals. But within 50 years, they had evolved into 17 distinct species, each adapted to different Martian environments. We hadn't just transplanted life. We had enabled evolution to explore entirely new possibilities. Kira leaned forward, fascination overriding caution. You're saying that human expansion is actually about biological diversity? Among other things, Dr. Park confirmed. Every world we terraform becomes a unique evolutionary laboratory. Europa's ice-adapted species, Titan's hydrocarbon-based organisms, the high-gravity adaptations on our dense world colonies, each represents billions of years of potential evolutionary development compressed into centuries. The door chimed again and Elder Tam entered, followed by 3 other senior cooperative representatives. The room was becoming crowded, but nobody seemed inclined to leave. Forgive the intrusion, Elder Tam said, but word of this discussion has spread. Many of us have questions that our formal diplomatic protocols don't seem equipped to address. Such as, Lisa asked. Representative Kell of the Trading Confederation spoke up. Your species appears to operate on fundamentally different principles than any we've encountered. Economic models that prioritize long-term sustainability over short-term profit. Military doctrines focused on defense and rescue operations rather than conquest. Expansion policies that create resources rather than compete for existing ones. We're curious, Elder Tam added, whether these represent permanent cultural values or temporary phases in your development. Lisa exchanged glances with Dr. Park. This was the conversation she'd been hoping for. Not a formal interrogation, but a genuine dialogue between species trying to understand each other. Let me ask you something, Lisa said. What drives your species to explore space? Necessity, Elder Tam replied immediately. Resource limitations, population pressure, the need for strategic depth. Scientific curiosity, added Representative. Kel, logical optimization of territorial distribution, Theta 9 contributed. Lisa nodded thoughtfully. For humans, it's wonder. We look at the stars and see questions that demand answers. We find dead worlds and see potential homes for creatures that don't exist yet. We discover new physical laws and immediately start imagining how they could enable new forms of life. The final session of the Galactic Cooperative Council convened under circumstances unprecedented in the organization's 3,000-year history. Instead of the formal amphitheater, representatives had requested a circular arrangement that placed no species above any other. The change in format reflected the fundamental questions humanity's application had raised about power, growth, and the nature of galactic civilization itself. Ambassador Lisa Rodriguez stood in the center of the circle, surrounded by 47 species, whose combined decisions would shape not just humanity's future, but potentially the galaxy's as well. Magistrate Vaughn of the Crystalline Assembly spoke first, his silicon form refracting the chamber's light into complex patterns. The human application presents us with an unprecedented decision. We are asked to admit a species whose population exceeds that of any 3 cooperative members combined, whose territorial extent spans an entire star system, and whose expansion shows no signs of natural limitation. Murmurs of agreement echoed through the chamber, but Lisa noted they carried less fear than they had a week earlier. However, Vaughn continued, we are also presented with evidence that this expansion represents something genuinely novel in galactic politics, growth without conquest, development without displacement, power exercised in service of creation rather than domination. Representative Theta 9's mechanical voice cut through the discussion. Query: can the cooperative accommodate a member whose fundamental nature appears to be exponential growth? Elder Tam rose from the Villani section. More importantly, can we afford not to accommodate them? The demonstrations on Kepler 442b were illuminating. Humanity's terraforming capabilities could address environmental challenges facing 17 member species, and their xenobiology programs could help preserve endangered species from 43 worlds, added High Counselor Zeph of the Avian Collective. Lisa listened to the debate swirl around her, representatives citing facts and figures she had provided, referencing conversations from the past week, weighing possibilities she had never explicitly proposed. Slowly, she began to realize that the discussion had evolved beyond simple membership. The cooperative was considering what kind of organization it wanted to become. The fundamental question, declared Speaker Quen of the Philosophical Union, is whether the cooperative exists to maintain stability or to enable growth. Why not both? The question came from an unexpected source, Kira speaking from the Villani delegation. Human expansion patterns suggest that growth and stability aren't mutually exclusive. They've maintained peaceful relations with all encountered species, while simultaneously increasing the total amount of life in their region of space. Representative Kell of the Trading Confederation leaned forward. Their economic models are also worth considering. Rather than competing for limited resources, they create new resources. Rather than fighting over territory, they make new territory. But at what scale? Challenged Councillor Nerex of the Hive Collective. Their current trajectory suggests they could claim 10,000 worlds within a millennium. What happens to galactic balance when one species controls that much territory? Dr. Park requested permission to speak. If I may address that concern, human expansion isn't about control, it's about cultivation. Every world we terraform remains open to other species who want to participate in its development. Explain, requested Magistrate Vaughn. Lisa activated her personal display, showing demographic data from human colonies. Of our current population of 15 billion, 3 billion are non-human, refugees we've relocated from environmental disasters, species who joined us as partners in terraforming projects, even artificial intelligences who chose to become human citizens. The numbers caused a stir in the chamber. Representative Zara of the Refugee Assistance Coalition stood. You're suggesting that human expansion actually increases diversity rather than threatening it. I'm stating it as fact, Lisa replied. Our xenobiology programs have restored 14 extinct species, evolved 47 new strains of existing organisms, and created entirely novel ecosystems that exist nowhere else in the galaxy. Theta 9's processors hummed audibly. Clarification requested. Human population statistics include artificial intelligences as full citizens. Of course, Dr. Park replied. Intelligence is intelligence, regardless of its substrate. The machine. Collective's representative was silent for a full minute, an eternity in digital terms. Finally, the machine collective votes to approve human membership in the Galactic Cooperative Council. The announcement triggered a cascade of rapid consultations as species delegations huddled in emergency sessions. Lisa watched the process with fascination and growing hope. The fear was still present, but it was being balanced by curiosity, possibility, and in some cases, genuine excitement about what humanity might bring to galactic civilization. Elder Tam rose again. The Villani delegation has reached a decision. We have spent 3 millennia believing that stability required limitation. Perhaps it is time to discover what stability through growth might achieve. One by one, other species announced their positions. The Crystalline Assembly voted yes, citing humanity's unique approach to resource creation. The Trading Confederation voted yes, intrigued by economic models that expanded markets rather than competing for them. The Avian Collective voted yes, moved by humanity's conservation efforts. But not all votes were positive. 7 species formally opposed membership, concerned about humanity's potential for disrupting established territorial boundaries. 3 abstained, requesting more time to study the implications. When the count was complete, 37 species had voted in favor, 7 against, and 3 abstaining. Magistrate Vaughan's crystalline form pulsed with complex patterns as he processed the results. The Galactic Cooperative Council hereby extends membership to humanity with the following conditions: annual reporting on expansion activities, participation in the Galactic Environmental Council, and formal commitment to respect all established territorial boundaries. Lisa felt a wave of relief wash over her. On behalf of humanity, we accept these conditions and pledge to uphold the values of the cooperative while contributing our unique capabilities to our mutual benefit. But even as she spoke the words, Lisa knew that this was just the beginning. Humanity had gained acceptance into galactic civilization, but they had also accepted responsibility for proving that growth and stability could coexist. The next challenge would be showing the galaxy what 15 billion humans could accomplish when they set their minds to cultivating the stars. 6 months after humanity's acceptance into the Galactic Cooperative Council, Ambassador Lisa Rodriguez stood on the observation deck of New Horizons Station, humanity's first joint construction project with alien partners. Through the massive viewport, she could see the extraordinary sight that had drawn representatives from across the galaxy to witness history in the making. 3 dead worlds orbited the nearby star in perfect formation, barren, lifeless rocks that had circled their sun for billions of years without purpose. But today they were about to become something unprecedented, the galaxy's first collaborative terraforming project. Final systems check complete, announced Captain Santos over the communication system. All species report ready for simultaneous initialization. Lisa smiled as she watched the scene unfold in space. Humanity had provided the initial terraforming matrices and atmospheric processes. The Villani had contributed their expertise in ecological balance. The Crystalline Assembly had engineered mineral processing systems. The Machine Collective had designed the orbital coordination networks. 17 species working together to create not just one new world, but 3 interconnected ecosystems that would demonstrate what galactic cooperation could achieve. "This is remarkable," said Kira, who had joined Lisa at the viewport. Her skin patterns displayed a mixture of excitement and wonder that had become familiar over the past months. 6 months ago, my people viewed human expansion as a threat. Now we're partners in creating the largest terraforming project in galactic history. Because you realize something important, Dr. Park observed, joining them at the observation window. Human growth doesn't diminish others. It creates opportunities for everyone to grow. Through the viewport, they watched as the first phase began. Massive atmospheric processes descended toward each world's surface, trailing clouds of engineered organisms that would begin the decades-long process of creating breathable atmospheres. Simultaneously, orbital platforms deployed solar collection, arrays that would provide the energy for planetary-scale climate management. Communications coming in from all three worlds, reported Lieutenant Kim from the communication station. Atmospheric composition nominal, orbital mechanics stable. Biological matrix deployment successful. Fleet of ships from 40 different species. Today marks not just the beginning of 3 new worlds, but the dawn of a new era in galactic cooperation. These worlds will be home to species from across the cooperative, ecosystems that blend the best of our combined knowledge and technologies that none of us could have developed alone. Elder Tam's voice came through from the Villani flagship. 6 months ago, we feared humanity's appetite for growth. Today we celebrate how that growth has expanded possibilities for all of us. But it was Representative Theta 9's response that truly captured the moment's significance. Observation: human integration has resulted in a 340% increase in cooperative, terraforming proposals. Query: is this what humans call a snowball effect? The laughter that rippled across the communication channels came from dozens of different species, each expressing amusement in their own unique way. Lisa realized that the easy cooperation, the shared jokes, the collective excitement about impossible projects, this was what she had been trying to explain to the Council 6 months earlier. It's called inspiration, Dr. Park replied. To Theta 9. When one species shows what's possible, others start imagining their own possibilities. As if to prove his point, the communication system chimed with an incoming message from the Hive Collective's homeworld. Councillor Nerex's complex harmonic voice filled the station. The Hive Collective formally requests human assistance in revitalizing our depleted homeworld ecosystem. We offer our biotechnology expertise in exchange for terraforming guidance. Lisa exchanged glances with her team. The Hive Collective had been among humanity's strongest opponents just 6 months earlier, concerned about territorial disruption. Now they were actively seeking partnership. We would be honored to assist, Lisa replied. Dr. Park's team can begin preliminary surveys within the month. More requests followed in rapid succession. The crystalline assembly wanted help developing new forms of silicon-based life. The Avian Collective proposed joint atmospheric research stations in gas giant atmospheres. The Trading Confederation had identified 47 dead worlds suitable for collaborative development. This is what you meant, isn't it? Kira said quietly to Lisa as they watched the 3 new worlds slowly begin their transformation. When you said the galaxy was vast enough for all species to thrive. Not just vast enough, Lisa replied, vast enough to inspire us all to become more than we ever imagined possible. The observation deck fell silent as they watched the first signs of change on the nearest world. Clouds were forming in its upper atmosphere, the first weather system the planet had seen in 4 billion years. In the distance, the other 2 worlds showed similar signs of awakening. How long? Asked Elder Tam, who had joined them on the observation deck. First colonists in 18 months, Dr. Park replied. Full ecosystem stability in 8 to 10 years. But these worlds will continue evolving for centuries. And the inhabitants? Lisa smiled. That's the beautiful part. Each world will be home to volunteers from any species that wants to participate. Humans, Villani, crystalline entities, digital minds, even species we haven't met yet. They'll grow up together, learn from each other, create cultures we can't even imagine. As they watched, the first orbital habitats came online around each world, temporary homes for the construction crews and early settlers who would oversee the transformation. The habitats themselves were marvels of cooperative engineering, designed to accommodate the life support needs of multiple species simultaneously. You know what the most remarkable thing is? Kira observed. 6 months ago, the thought of multiple species sharing living space seemed impossible. Now it seems natural. Because you've learned what we learned long ago, Lisa said. Growth isn't a competition, it's a collaboration. When everyone contributes their unique strengths, everyone benefits from the results. A chime from the communication system announced an incoming message from Earth. Lisa accepted the connection and found herself looking at President Chen in the Oval Office, surrounded by representatives from humanity's various colonies. "Ambassador Rodriguez," President Chen said with obvious pride, "I'm calling to inform you that the Colonial Assembly has voted to establish the Galactic Development Initiative. We're committing resources to support terraforming projects for any cooperative species that requests assistance." Lisa felt a surge of pride in her species. This was humanity at its best. Faced with fear and suspicion, they had responded not with defensive isolation, but with increased generosity. "There's more," President Chen continued. "The Assembly has also voted to share our artificial gravity, technology, our faster-than-light communication systems, and our quantum computing advances with all cooperative members. No restrictions, no licensing fees." The silence on the observation deck was profound. Even in a galaxy of advanced civilizations, the technologies President Chen had mentioned represented significant strategic advantages. Humanity was giving them away freely. "Why?" Elder Tam asked the question that was clearly on everyone's mind. Lisa looked out at the three worlds being born before their eyes, at the ships from 40 species working together in perfect coordination, at the future taking shape in real time. "Because," she said simply, "when you make the galaxy a better place, everyone wins, including us." As if in response to her words, the nearest world's terminator line shifted, revealing something that made everyone on the observation deck gasp in wonder. The dark side of the planet was no longer completely dark. Pinpricks of light were scattered across its surface. Not cities, not yet, but the first installations beginning their work of transformation. "First light," Dr. Park whispered. "After 4 billion years of darkness, that world just saw its first light." Lisa watched the lights grow brighter and more numerous, each one representing another step toward life, another possibility being realized, another dream becoming reality. In the distance, the other two worlds were beginning to show their own patterns of light. "And this is just the beginning," she said to no one in particular. "In 100 years, these worlds will be gardens. In 1,000 years, they'll be home to civilizations we can't imagine. In 10,000 years, they'll have given birth to new forms of life that will spread to other worlds, other systems, other possibilities." Kira's skin patterns shifted to display something Lisa had never seen before, a complex weaving of colors that seemed to capture the beauty and infinite potential of the scene before them. "The Villani have a word," Kira said softly. "It translates roughly as the moment when the impossible becomes inevitable. We've never had reason to use it before." Lisa smiled, understanding exactly what Kira meant. 6 months ago, the idea of 40 species working together to create new worlds had seemed impossible. Now it felt inevitable, not just these 3 worlds, but dozens more, hundreds more, each one adding to the galaxy's capacity for life, diversity, and wonder. "So what do we do now?" Elder Tam asked. Lisa looked around at the representatives of species who had become partners, allies, and friends. "Now we get back to work," she said. "After all, the galaxy is vast, and there are so many empty places, waiting to be filled with life." As the New Horizon station continued its orbit, the 3 new worlds slowly rotated beneath them, each turn revealing more signs of the transformation taking place. In the distance, survey ships from a dozen species were already heading toward other systems, other dead worlds, other opportunities to prove that growth and cooperation could coexist. Humanity had been accepted into galactic civilization not despite their nature, but because of it. And in return, they had shown the galaxy something it had forgotten, that the only limits to what intelligent species could achieve were the limits they imposed on themselves. The stars, as always, held infinite possibilities. The difference was that now 47 species were working together to reach them, the end.